And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Today we're going to take a look at Courtier, which is the first game in a series of games from AEG. The series of game is called the Tempest line of games. And in them, there's a shared universe. Basically, the story starts in here. And in this game, the queen is about to be arrested. And so you are trying to influence the royal court as the game goes by to get points before she gets arrested. And then the queen gets arrested, and so then in the remainder of games, queen is gone, okay? And so there's a story that goes from game to game. Now, how well that story progresses is something I'm going to have to review in a future video because, I just have the one game to go by here. So we're just going to take a look at this game here right now as a game in and of itself. It's the first game in a series. Is it worth checking out? Let's look. Courtier uses a mechanic that I'm a fan of, and that's controlling different people. Okay, the queen is about to be arrested here, and so you're trying to control different people in different areas. Like, for example, in the commerce area, you can control the guild master, merchant, banker, and auditor. Up here, the minister has only just one guy, the minister. In the royal family, we have the king, the prince, and the princess. You can see the different areas on the board. And what you're trying to do is each person has a secret goal that they're trying to accomplish. For example, you might be trying to accomplish this petition here. This petition here basically tells me I need to control the guild master and the jeweler. If I do so, I'm going to get 5 points. But there will also be petitions that are harder to accomplish and they're worth more points because you need to control more people. And while each person has a secret one, several of them will be face up near the board. So those are ones that everyone is going for. Now, players are going to have a hand of cards, and what's interesting in this game is that you're going to be drawing cards from two different decks. Okay, we have an influence deck, which most of the cards from this deck simply allow you to place influence on a specific person. For example, that one there allows you to place one on a physician, or maybe you have one here that lets you place one on the princess, or maybe it just says influence the Senate. It could be either one of the guys in the Senate, or there's even ones that let you place one on anyone. Power cards are very different. Okay, these cards here, depending on what it says, this one like move one influence marker to an empty space. Play an influence card. That influence card can replace another one. Resourceful, spend an influence marker. Basically, what these let you do is switch the positions of any two influence markers on the board. These allow you to do different things and mess with other people on the board. When you place influence markers, you're going to place them on that person. So let's say, for example, I'm trying to control the cardinal here, and I'm the red player. So if I have 2 on him, and then you put 1 on him later, and then a white neutral shows up in him. There will be a lot of neutral influence placed on the board as the game progresses. Red controls him. You don't need a majority, you just need a plurality. And so I have the most here, so I control the cardinal. If for some reason the cardinal is completely filled with neutral influence, then anybody can claim control of him because the queen likes this person at this point in time. Another great thing about this game, though, is if I want to put an influence marker there and it's all filled up, I simply replace one of them of my choice. Now, players are going to have influence that they will have in their own pools in front of them, but there's also influence in a reserve. And so one of the actions you can do on your turn, instead of playing one of those cards, is to take another influence from the reserve so that you have more from it. Now, if you have the most influence in any specific area, for example, let's say you have the most influence in the church, which I do, even though I have 1 red there, I have the most. But of course, I probably want some more there in the whole church areas. If that happens, you will get a matching card for that area, and those matching cards will give you special abilities. For example, the church here, when I play an influence card, I put 2 influence instead of 1. Well, that's a really big deal. But not as, look at this one. The culture, here at the beginning of each of my turn, I get a victory point. The minister is powerful because when you finish a minister, you can substitute him for anybody else. A military says when you play a power card that has a military seal, you can do the effects of that card twice. So for example, this one here has the military seal on the bottom. When it says switch the positions of any 2 influence markers on the board, I can do that twice. The royal family, people can't replace your influence markers. Well, they can replace them in the royal family, but they can't replace them anywhere else. The Senate, at the end of the game, whoever has the Senate card gets 10 victory points. When you refill your hand at the end of your turn, you can discard a card from your hand. When you have the Athenaeum and the Comus, at the start of your turn, you can pay 1 influence marker to place an influence marker in any empty space. Now, there's going to be different discard piles as you discard the cards, but when you draw cards, you have a choice to draw the top card of either deck, and when you draw, you refill your hand back up, but one of the actions you can do in your turn is play a card. You can take an influence from the reserve, or you can discard as many cards as you want. Sometimes you need to clear your hand. When you draw, you can draw from either deck. You can draw the face-up card, which sometimes you want to do because you know exactly what that is, but the face-up card, to do that, you have to pay 1 of your influence markers to the reserve. So you have 1 less influence markers at the beginning of the game. Not a big deal. As the game progresses, you want more and more of these. So, and these cards are replaced every time someone scores. So at the end of your turn, if you can score something by controlling people on the board, you go ahead, you're going to remove all the influence from those people, and then you score the card. You also replace these 2 face-up cards over here, and then play continues. But also when someone scores a card, we turn over the top card of this queen deck and some event will happen. For example, here, every player gets 3 influence from the reserve. Sometimes it will fill, this one fills all the empty spaces in Senate with neutral influence, and that will happen quite a bit. And one of the cards eventually says the queen is arrested. When that card shows up, the game is over. You will count any victory points that you've gotten over the course of the game from controlling the culture guy. You will count victory points then of all the cards that you have successfully finished. And then whoever has the Senate gets 10 victory points, and the person with the most points is the winner. As I was playing this game, I said, wow, I mean, this is fun. I mean, I'll give it to you. I like this game. And as I was playing, I said, man, it just, some aspect of this, I know I've done this before in some kind of game, something similar to this. So I looked at the designer, because sometimes I look at them ahead of time. This one I did, and it's Philip duBarry. And Philip has done the game Revolution from Steve Jackson. Now, don't run screaming. Revolution is the best game Steve Jackson has ever designed. Their company has ever produced, I think. I haven't played Ogre, so don't yell at me there. But anyhow, I really liked Revolution. It was about influence different things to have a revolution. Well, this has a similar feel to that, but this is deeper than Revolution. It is more of a game. So let's talk about bad points. Some people in this game thought it was a little long for what it was, because you keep doing the same thing over and over again, influencing people. That didn't bother me, but it did bother a few people. Other people didn't like the fact that those cards that you had for controlling each section, they didn't like passing those around all the time. Again, something I enjoy, so that didn't bother me. Okay, that's it. Other than that, phenomenal artwork, the storyline fits, and I love several aspects of the game. One, I like area control games, and that's basically what this is. And I like the fact that there's only a certain number of people there. You have to have the person filled up to control that person. So neutral influence helps you out there. You have to have the most cubes in the thing, and then you have to control different ones. And you can look, I mean, if your secret one is hard, and sometimes you get a secret one that just seems very difficult to do, well, fine. But if there's other ones out there, you can play and win without ever having gotten your secret objective. Just go for the objectives that are out there and get those objectives and work towards those, but realize that everybody else can see them. And you can't ignore the fact that, you know, controlling the culture section gives you a victory point every turn, and that can add up. Because the game might be 15, 20 turns, that's 15 or 20 points that are being thrown around. And the Senate, whoever controls it at the end of the game, gets 10 points. Those things are big and can be game changers. But what I really enjoy about the game is the fact that there's 2 different decks of cards. At the beginning, you're like, oh, I need influence cards. Forget those power cards, whatever. Influence cards, that's what's important. I'm going to get influence out on the board. But then you suddenly realize, wow, these power cards can change it. There are power cards that let you use that power card as one of the people you need to influence. That's a big deal. There are power cards that can effectively change influence in such a way that it hurts someone else and helps you sometimes to score points in the same turn. And I like the fact that you can buy the card that's face up, basically, by getting rid of one of your influence, but you draw off the top sometimes because it might be a better card. You know, I always like that kind of aspect. Good artwork, it's fast, it's easy to teach. It was certainly not what I was expecting. This is the kind of Euro game that I like, the area control and controlling people, and then when you control people you have different powers that you can do, and there's special cards. There's a lot going on in this game, but it is not a complex game. It's a middleweight Euro, one that I enjoy. Courtier, I don't know, whatever, this game.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.
Shut the door.